So it was like any other yeah. It clearly comes out when he's talking to me, or it's so hard. I love my grandfather, but it's so difficult to explain that in a short little intro. He's just one of my biggest influences in life. He talks about, since a very young age, has been talking to me about love, compassion, and treating others how you want to be treated. And these ideas have always resonated and always stuck with me. And it's just, he is the guy who embodies it. He embodies compassion, he embodies open-mindedness and love. And it so clearly comes out when he's talking to you. The issue with the Zoom calls is that they're not as, immersive as a normal conversation is, obviously because you're behind a screen, but we made do. I hope you guys are open-minded to this, personal conversation I had with him. If you guys have any comments, want to say anything, any questions, let me know in the comments, please. I always check those. If you guys like the video, of course, just leave it a like. If you guys dislike it, obviously just leave it a dislike. I checking all the analytics of it. I hope you guys are open-minded and enjoy listening to this deeply personal conversation I had with my grandfather.
Boom. All right.
What does the clapping do?
The clapping, so it makes it so there's like a visual spike in the audio, and so I can see it as well. So it's like when I scrub through on the video editing software, I can see where it all syncs up. So it's like all timed up properly. Anyways, how are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to start it off right. I'm excited, honestly. Like, I'm really, I have all these questions here, and with my new computer, too. And, oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be my 4th interview I've done now. And,
who else did you interview?
So I've done my friend Alex, and we sat on that couch right there. Then I had my friend Jack and Murph, and it was a liberal and conservative, and we duked it out for an hour and a half. And my friend, or Julia's friend Macy Johnson, she came over, and I just uploaded that video yesterday. So I was like, I'm getting rolling. This kid texted me how much he loved the podcast I uploaded yesterday, and was telling me how much he learned from it, which is that's an amazing thing. That's so awesome. Anyways, so so this is my personal YouTube thing. I want to I like making videos, and I was hesitant over the entire summer to interview people and make talk show podcast things, because everyone does it. But the thing is I don't want that to be what stops me from doing something I like, and I feel I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do it, and I wouldn't be jumping on the opportunity. So this is me fulfilling that dream of mine and that excitement that I like, and seeing if this is something that I actually want to do long term. So that's my angle, and that's where I'm coming from. Anyway, right. So for your information, there's a camera there, getting another angle. So when I'm editing this, it won't just be this one angle right here. And I have the audio and everything, and I'm recording you and your audio. So just preface, just so you know, I would want to know. Anyway, so let's get into it. I got a lot of questions, and this is Jonah to Edwin. This is as opposed to grandson to grandfather. You know what I mean? Which is an interesting perspective that I think would be interesting, fun to listen to. And some tough questions. If you don't want to answer them, just say that you don't. Anyways, how about we to start off your history? I feel I know about you. I know you were born in 1930, and I knew you grew up in New York. And
I was born in New York.
See, I'm wrong there. So you were born in New York.
But the family, my father and mother, your great-grandfather and great-grandmother, moved to Rhode Island when I was three months old. So I didn't spend much time in New York at all. Of course, I was only an infant.
Right. Well, didn't you have like the family ranch in New York?
Well, we didn't have a ranch. We had a farm in near Yonkers, New York, that we spent a lot of summers at. In fact, about 18 summers. That was quite, it was quite a influential thing in my life because uh, I met the whole family there. We had a big family, so there was something like 13 cousins, all about within 4 or 5 years of the same age.
Right.
So it was really quite an extended family that we had. In fact, we called it the Adler family circle,
Mm. Yeah.
And it was a nice experience.
Right. I mean, so what years was that? That was you're
Well,
saying 18 years?
um, let's see when it started. Um, I'm not really sure at this point. Let's see, 18, 20, oh, gee, I don't know. In the
I just
30s.
remember, like that's what is like so interesting because you're like a living piece of history. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be offensive, but like,
No, but I like the living part.
yeah, yeah, I'm fond of that too. But like, it's what is really cool is like, to me personally, is like one of the reasons why I like doing these videos and why I like interviewing people is because it not only is like a cool thing that I can share with people, but it also like cements like a moment in time, and it's like you can always go back to it and see like that's what I look like, that's what I was thinking, this is what they were thinking, what was going through their mind at that point in life, and it's like a way to stamp history, and
Right.
I think that's like an amazing opportunity that I have, and I feel like I'd be foolish not to take advantage of it, and that's why like I'm doing this right now,
Right.
having you on right now. But I mean, there's so much life that you've lived. 90 years. It like I was doing the math. Mitch just turned 22 yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and that's literally like a fourth of your entire like more like your life. I'm 17. You've lived 5 times, more than 5 times that like of life that I've lived, and it's like at some point, don't you feel like doesn't it get like, exhausting? You know what I mean?
Well, that's not really a fair question to ask during COVID.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
like everybody else, I'm exhausted from it. uh, I would never have anticipated having to experience this now at this
Right.
stage of my life. Um, I'm not particularly happy about the fact that, the last few years of my life, I have to have this experience. It's not a very pleasant one
Right.
for any of us. So, so I can see everything leading up to here. So that's what's interesting.
So you're saying like up to this moment in like in the timeline of U.S. history or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Like
well, I've lived so much. I mean, what's funny for me is people talk about things that happened in my childhood or young adulthood. Excuse me.
let it out. Let it out.
And in a historical way, I mean, I remember President Roosevelt very well, and I remember Pearl Harbor very well.
Wow, 1941, right?
Yeah, I remember
You're
Winston
11.
Churchill. Yeah, I was 11 when Pearl
Yeah.
Harbor was bombed.
And what was that like?
it,
Talk about that a little bit.
it was amazing, but there's such a difference. The country was so different then than it is
Oh
now.
yeah, wow. It's like that is just that's what's so amazing to me. I don't even know what words to describe it. Like so much has changed within the 90 years that you've been around. So much has changed that like what we are familiar with. In the 20 years that like, I mean, for 17 years that I've been around, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't even know what questions to like, what was it like? Like, do people, you know how all the recordings, like, they talk like this, the Japs bombed, is that what people talk like? You know what I mean? Like, what was it like? I don't know. Is there something you'd like to share, like, from your childhood that, like, you reminisce
Well,
now and then?
I was 11 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and I know exactly where I was when it happened and what I was doing. I was playing in the basement of our house with boxes, which I was using as like, kids play with boxes like they're
Right.
a house or
Yeah,
they're,
yeah.
and I was down there. My mother came to the top of the stairs and said, "Ed, you'll never believe what's happened. The Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor. We're at war with Japan."
Yeah.
And that was quite a shock. Um, I didn't I didn't know what it meant really, all the ramifications of it
Right.
until time passed. and and then of course uh, I was concerned also as a member of the Jewish race.
Right.
What would be the implications to our family, immediate family? Because I knew what was happening in Germany and in Europe to the Jews, and I was concerned. What if we lost the war? What would happen?
Right.
Those kinds
And
of
that was a
concerns.
real concern. Like, that's
Yeah,
something that my generation will never understand, simply which cannot understand, is that, like, whenever we bring up war, whenever we bring up, like, what was going on, like, the results, we always just, it's never been a question, oh, yeah, we won. Like, it's never, like, that's never an emotion that we have to think about. But that was what it was about. That was life. You were scared about that, right?
yeah, and not only that, but my uncle was in the Marines and in World War II, and he was
Mm.
killed at Guadalcanal. The flag raising at Iwo Jima. That's the
Yeah.
famous iconic image that
Right?
everybody
Yeah.
knows about. Well, that's where he was killed. He was in a foxhole and he was killed.
Wow.
And it was a disaster for my grandmother because she never really got over it. It affected the rest of her life. So it was something really close.
Right. And it hit everybody. It
Of
touched
course,
everyone.
the was aspects of it was that people were really united and in this war effort. Everybody was involved in whatever way they could be involved. I remember we were saving fats, cooking fats,
Mm.
so they could be used for munitions. And so we would save them, and they would get collected. And I remember before the war ended, our refrigerator stopped working; it just wore out, and we used it as an ice box. The iceman came and put these big blocks of ice in the
Yeah.
refrigerator to keep our food cold. And
Wow.
you couldn't buy anything like a car. Cars. All the manufacturers that were making cars are now making tanks or airplanes or whatever.
So what'd you do for, like, did you were you going to school at this point? Like,
Yeah,
and what, you were 11 years old, so probably like 6th grade or something like that. And
yeah. I was in I guess the fifth grade.
yeah. And so you were going to school every day.
Yeah, going to school every day. Um, and my father was very interested in what was happening in the war and was very well informed. And he used to discuss it with me. We would, of course, that was before television, and but the radio was a big thing. And we used to listen to the news together. And It's amazing how growing up like that, you'd listen to there'd be shows on the radio that you couldn't see, but you could hear them,
Right.
and but it enlivened your imagination because you could almost see them in your mind's eye.
Right. It's like a
Yeah,
book, reading a
yeah,
book.
yeah. So, uh, it was. I was aware as a kid that this is a historic time.
Mm. Yeah, but really. So, like, that's what I'm coming to terms with. Like, right now with COVID, like, going to school every other day. The school year is shortened. I'm realizing like this is a monumental moment in our history, and I like this is like I said, I'm eager to like timestamp this and create something and put it out there to be like, this is what was happening. This is what I was like. This is what life was like, and man, like think about history. The first thing that comes up is World War II and what it was like then. I don't want to dwell too long on it, but
Yeah.
I mean, like you're saying, so much has changed since then. What's like one thing that you like? What was like one of the best things about that time period that you wish like maybe that we had today?
Well, we didn't have the animosity, that there is in our political system that we have today, where there's such bitterness.
Yeah, and like rivalry.
There isn't the polarization that we have now, and we had our leaders were heroes. Roosevelt was a hero, and we look at Donald Trump, and to more than half the population of this country, he's an evil clown. I mean, it's a whole different thing politically.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw today someone said like, I want a president that's not the lesser of the two evils, and that's what it feels like. It always feels like that, and it's kind of exhausting. Like I don't like paying. Like I can't vote anyways, but it's like it's exhausting. The politics and just everything seems so corrupt and slimy, and everyone has their own agenda, and it's like to the point where I'm looking at school and I'm looking at like a new university. I'm looking at Canada a lot of times because I kind of want to get out. I just kind of want to leave, and I mean it's sometimes kind of sad because don't you want to be part of the change, but it's just like it's so frustrating. I can't dwell on it, and there's so many preposterous things that happen, and it seems like there's never a good solution. Someone's always yelling at someone, and I mean it's too frustrating a lot of times. I can't deal with it. Did you find that when you were a kid that it was just too frustrating? You just couldn't.
No. It's a funny thing about the war. Don't forget, we weren't involved physically in it. At least as a child, I wasn't.
Exactly, yeah.
And it seemed, I mean, you could feel the ocean between us and what was going on either in Japan or in the Pacific or in the Atlantic with what was happening in Europe. And you'd see it in newsreels, and it wasn't in your face like everything is in your face now.
It wasn't. I think you cut out there. It wasn't quite, and then it wasn't quite as in your face. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. It was cut out a little bit. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you weren't in it. You weren't fighting. Did someone? Vaguely feel like someone said you.
I had a cousin. I had a cousin who was only a few years older, and he was in the army.
Really, and so. Wow. I mean.
If I'd been maybe 3 years older, or 4 years older, I could have been in the war as a soldier.
As like 16 and fighting.
Well, I when the war ended, I was 15.
Right.
And so you could go into service at 18. So,
right. Did you know anybody who like went under the age limit? Didn't they allow that? Like if you were a little younger and you wanted to fight so bad?
No, not really. I mean, they weren't supposed to.
Right.
They weren't
Man.
supposed to.
And so, how was the reaction like? When like did you feel like oh snap, like we might lose? Like, was there ever like a fear of that, or were you guys at home, was it always like, we're gonna win, let's keep fighting, let's keep all together?
I had no idea until even quite recently how close the British were to collapsing and and losing the war to Hitler, surrendering to Hitler. I had no idea. If it wasn't for one individual, Churchill, the British might have surrendered to Hitler.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what the world would have been like if Hitler had taken over the world.
You think so? If Britain fell, the United States would fall as well?
Well, what you would have had is, it probably could have. I don't know whether we could have won the war on our own, because we needed allies, to help us fight the war.
Right.
So, but I wasn't really. I never thought there was any danger of us losing. And of course, we had a robust movie industry, and they kept grinding out pictures, war pictures, and of course, we were always the winners in the war pictures. So it was, it was good propaganda, and it really boosted morale, to kind of view it that way.
Right. And so, like, when did you guys found out? So when Germany fell, were you guys aware? Like the day of, like, did you get the newspapers? Because now, if something happened, you just like a little alert goes on your phone, you know immediately.
Oh yeah. There was the radio, and there was broadcasts from Europe, and the Blitz in London was covered.
Right.
But there wasn't any real sense of what the British went through. They went through hell. I mean.
Yeah, they were being bombed and everything.
Right, and they were expecting an imminent German invasion, and it's only because of some errors that Hitler made that they could have gone right over the channel and invaded England, and England could not have defended themselves at that time.
Yeah.
But the way it went, it's funny. I just took a course in that history period, which I found very, very interesting, because a lot of things I wasn't aware of at the time.
And you can also like relate it back to your own life.
Right.
And like relate it back to your own experiences, which is obviously nothing I can ever experience, I mean, that's like, that is just so cool.
But there's such a like a historic line. I mean, it was, and Churchill was such an amazing character. He predicted he predicted the Cold War. He was the one that said that there's an iron curtain descending.
Yeah, we covered that in US 2 last year.
Yeah, and he saw the whole thing developing, and he had this vision of world history, understanding of it, and was always kind of like the whistleblower for that.
Right.
So
I mean, I have so the animosity, you're saying, like the rivalry between politicians and really anybody nowadays, like, you get the BLM, Black Lives Matter supporters, and you have the people that wave around the American flag screaming, make America great again. And, it's like when I walk through school, I can see like the clashing between two people. Just in my school, North Kingston, you know what I mean? And that's been my life. That's been like my childhood, has been experiences like that. People are just so aggressive towards each other. And so what were like, are there any, I resent the fact that like my generation's like that. I don't think anybody likes it, honestly. And it seems like there's radicals on both sides, and nobody can get along. And, but like, what are some things that you resented about maybe your time period when you grew up?
Well, there was growing up, there was a lot of anti-Semitism, and that was. I mean, I used to be beaten up by kids
Really?
in my hometown. Yeah, gangs of kids, and called Christ Killer, and I mean, it was a very virulent kind of anti-Semitism in this country. There were a lot of things that weren't right about that time that have been where there's progress.
Right.
I mean, in the South, blacks were still being lynched
Right.
by mobs of people.
Yeah. Yeah, that was going on. Like
Yeah.
Emmett Till, that was in the 50s.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
a 20-year-old guy.
Yeah. Well, I never could understand where all the hate came from. I could never understand where all the anger came from, and I could never understand why people were fighting wars. It seemed crazy to me at the time that so-called civilized people, and especially like the Germans, were very much, in the arts. The great musical composers, German, the famous scientists, the ones that did so much work for people. So I couldn't understand how people that produced a Mozart or Beethoven could produce a Hitler.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't understand a lot of that. I mean, the things you question about your reality. It seems to be a warring planet.
Yeah.
And it's still a warring planet.
Yeah. I mean, I have right now, I personally, I'm listening to you talking about history, but I have a lot of questions. I have so many personal questions about history, but I'm also thinking about this as as someone else viewing this. What would they like to know? And I would love to touch base on personal things about you. I know, I mean, your perspective as a 90-year-old guy. One of the things is my life is ahead of me. My entire life. My energy, when I get up in the morning, my drive is because I want to have a successful future, Did you ever feel like this way when you were a kid?
Well, I think I was a privileged kid. My father, your great grandfather, he owned a factory, and so I never had to worry about money issues. He drove a nice car, and our house was not especially wonderful, but it was okay.
Yeah.
But we never worried about money. So my life wasn't necessarily the same as everybody else's. I was a member of a privileged class.
Yeah.
And so that was a big boost in life.
Did you feel like you had a sense of to me, because I'm so young and because I feel like I have visions of what I want to get done. I want to make more videos. I like making videos. It's fun for me. I want to learn guitar. I've been practicing I've been playing for 4 or 5 months now. And I think it's a lot of fun. I have school ahead of me, college next year. These are all these developments in my life that excite me. And it's kind of, it gets exhausting to think about it sometimes, but it excites me and keeps me activated. Did you was this the same? I assume, right? Or was it to a lesser degree? Because for me, it's a lot of it is social media influencing me. I gotta get up in the morning. There's all these people you got like all these social media influencers that are like, I'm successful and this is how I did it, and I some part of me wishes that I didn't have that influence, but and I don't want to claim like that's why I get up in the morning, because someone else says like it's like good for you, but I mean I can't deny that like there's a big part of like my influence and my motive, like part of my drive is because of external people saying. It's like really weird. I don't feel comfortable saying that because like social media is such a weird like weird platform. There's so much like hatred and confusing things, and man, I mean, I feel kind of inadequate saying that like my drive comes from these people, from these external people, and it seems to me, how could someone not grow up with that influence? Because that's all I've known. That's all I've known is like internet people like looking at the internet and being like, wow, like look at that what they have, and all I've known is that that you got to work hard for it. And so I look at myself and I'm like, shouldn't I get started? Like I'm so young, shouldn't I start my life and start doing the things I want to do? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, well, I think you have. I think you're pursuing a lot of interesting things. I think this thing that you're exploring now with the video is very, very interesting. It's funny because I think I was not as motivated as much as you are, because I think I always assumed I would go into the family business. And so I didn't have to struggle, but it's a funny thing about struggle is it makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And so I think it was to my detriment that I was not motivated more to be more ambitious in life.
Right. I mean, a lot of this motivation comes from like my pursuit to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that word happiness means a lot of things, but like this, the idea that I'll just go to school, go to college for 4 years, get a job, and then I'll have that job for 20 years and have a family. That idea of just letting my life kind of like carry on and like kind of evaporate before my eyes and just let it go into autopilot, that idea terrifies me. It scares me. The idea of, I say this to everyone, waking up where I'm driving my Nissan Altima, wearing my checkered shirt and my button-down tie, going to some 9 to 4 in a cubicle. That idea scares me. It might be good for someone else, but like that, I am like repelled by that. And that's why like when I was so scared of all like this future of mine, like I thought like, oh my God, like this is what's gonna happen. Like Julia was saying how that she her big scare of hers, the fear of hers was like she's gonna be homeless, you know, like this was like a real fear to her. And once I realized like just as preposterous as Julia ever being homeless, like once I realized like if I put myself in the position to not have that, like I don't want that, so I'm gonna put myself in the position so it won't happen. If I continue to do these things, continue to do this, whatever makes me happy, I will follow that, and that will be what I pursue. Does that make like? And you have lived so like such a full life, and like have picked up on so many different people and like their ways to success and what they were due to happiness and who failed and who this and that. Like it honestly, like I just want to like have someone tell me like, is this it seems kind of too exciting and like too, you know, ambitious to be true. This idea that I just need to follow what makes me happy. But like, is that like, is this the truth?
Yeah. What I've learned is that you create your own reality. In other words, by the choices you make, you create it. Life is a creative process. And you either do or you don't. And if you get, some people get stuck along the way and they get into drugs or they get into, bad habits.
Yeah, I mean,
bring them down.
right. I mean, what's scary to me is like the idea of not like being aware of the moment, like not being aware of what's going on right now, because I am surrounded by social media, phones, TVs, people on their phones, not even paying attention to themselves. Like, there's so many distractions that it's really easy to just get carried away and not realize like what is going on right now and appreciate that. That's all, like just being aware.
Yeah.
And like that is what scares me. And once I realized like this, I think this is like a crucial, like so many things had to happen for me to realize this, that the way I like my mentality is what will carry on. Like if I have the mentality of I'm going to do what I want because that's what I want and I know it's right, if I carry on with that mentality, then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It will fill itself. Like, and it's comforting knowing that like I come from a background of Boy Scouts has like shaped me who I am, like morals and like doing what's right, and your son has shaped me of like the man I am, how I interact socially with other people, and build me into the man I am today. But like it's scary like to think that if I left unchecked, and to think that if I lose this excitement and this energy, it's scary that my life will kind of just, time will just pass and I'll just be unhappy and, kind of do whatever. I mean, that's what scares me. And it seems like everywhere I turn, I look to an influence of mine, like my teachers, like a family, friends' parents, scoutmasters even, like, it just seems like a lot of people are caught in a career that they don't love and they're not excited to get up in the morning. And now they have a family with responsibilities on top of that. And they have to work harder to make more money and with a job that they don't like. And it's all these compounding things that seem so scary, And I just wonder, like, does that ever, like... Is there ever a moment in your life that you've like clicked and be like I got this, like this is, we're good, like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, the thing is, life can be beautiful or horrible. It depends on what you do with it, how creative you are, and I think. If you just accept responsibility for your choices, everything depends on your choices. So if you make the good choices, you can have confidence in the choices that you're making because you're making good choices.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's scary, like it's daunting even to on my own Instagram, on my social media, I will put out like, oh, here's a little video I made. And it's scary, like, I don't know what people are going to think. And, I'm really quick to assume that there's going to be one negative thing and that's going to make it terrible. And so, like, right now I'm working on that confidence and, like, to follow through with the things I want to do and not let something external stop me. And what I realized is that external thing is actually in my head, which is actually an internal thing, which is, like, breaking barriers and, like, craziness to me. But like once like I realized that I should do the things that I want to do because no one is stopping me, it's like the most empowering thing. Because when life has presented like the right opportunities, COVID for instance, that seems like something completely out of my hands, that is like completely, I could never control COVID. And what if COVID never happened? Like, I wouldn't have a 6-month period without school where I could just think about myself and like think deeply about like how I am and what I do, and think about my like how I affect other people. If I didn't have that 6-month period, I feel like I would be a completely different person.
Well,
And it's you're gonna say something?
no, I was just going to agree with you about this. That in all situations, even the most negative kinds of experiences, always seem to have some benefits or gifts that they can give you if you put a positive spin on it. I look at some of the negative stuff that that I've gone through, some of the pain or suffering that I've gone through, and I've come out the other side, and I've always been stronger for it and wiser for it.
Right. I mean, that's one of the. It's such an incredible thing. If you have I was talking Macy, the girl that I had on before, like, she's saying some people will stub their toe in the morning, and they'll be like, "Shit, I stubbed my toe. This day's gonna suck," and like they're down in the dumps, and they just carry on with the day with that energy. So then their day sucks. Their day is just a bad day. If you stub, and she's saying like, you can also stub your toe and be like, ah, damn, like I just stubbed my toe, but like, oh well, I gotta go keep walking, gotta get my shoes on, gotta go to school, and it's gonna be a good day still. If you carry on with that idea, then it propels you with this like rejuvenated energy that wasn't there before. And so just like with pain and suffering, it seems if you can acknowledge, like if you acknowledge it and you're aware of like, damn, like that was a rough period. Say 10th grade was really rough for me. Like I was school, I hated school. Like seriously just did not enjoy being there. And I would come home and Mo and Poppy would be like yelling at each other and I would be screaming at Poppy. It was like just a terrible situation. And looking back, like it was that was a bad time. Like I was sad, I was depressed, and I didn't even realize I was depressed when I was in it. But the thing is, now, I'm on the other side now. Like now I'm doing this. Now, we just had a family therapy session an hour ago, and I can tell Poppy anything I want. Mo is my greatest advocate. You know what I mean? Like these are things that can only happen if you like stay in it. Stay in the fight, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why, like, I am this is like a new adventure for me. This like video making stuff is a brand new thing, and it can like any interview. I could interview the next person, and it might be a terrible interview, like really boring, and I don't want to release it. But the thing is, that's part of the process of me carrying on with. I mean, this is like I feel like I said, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't do this, and it might suck. It might really be a terrible like energy consuming thing, but if it's what I really want, and if it's like truly right for me, and I continue through it, I feel like I'll only be like stronger on the other side. And I mean, it's just kind of difficult for me to say that because I feel like I haven't had enough experience for that to be justifiable and like for it to be verified, really, like seal of approval. This guy knows what he's talking about because he's been through it. It's like, no, I'm only 17. But you're the 90-year-old and you're nodding in agreement with me, so that like leads me to believe like that seems to be the right approach.
Positively.
Yeah.
If you learn early that you really create your own reality, you create your life, and you're completely responsible for it, and accept the responsibility for it. It's amazing what you can be.
Yeah, I like that. You gotta be responsible for it because that also keeps in check like your morals. You're like, I want to be happy, but I also want to be someone that I respect. Like I don't want to make crazy decisions on something, like do something dumb, like, go to Las Vegas and spend all my money, something like that, like, because I don't really respect that, you know what I mean? I wouldn't respect that decision. And that's like one way of, you gotta maintain that responsibility, and being able to be responsible with yourself, and knowing that the decisions you make affect you and you only. And my Rhode Island history teacher this semester that I'm taking, I asked him, because it's really hard to talk about my future and like success and happiness and all this without thinking about college. Right now I'm applying to college. Like right now, after we hang up on this, I'm gonna have to start keep working on my college essay, and looking at more schools and stuff like that. And it's hard to see through all the commotion. But so he was saying, his way of saying, phrasing it was, choose your America. He said, what do you want to be? If you want to be a surfer dude and go to the beach all the time, go to school in California. If you want to be hiking around in the mountains, go to Vermont. If you want to be in the city, in the commotion you like, and you feed off people's energy, go to the city, And he was saying, like, this is the beauty of being an American citizen, is that you can create your own life. And that's something, like, what I'm realizing is the most, like, it's like one of the most empowering things. This is one of the reasons why I love this country, is that there's so many opportunities. Like, politics are not, like, we have, it's so diverse. There's New Mexico, where the land looks like it's like a lunar landscape, you know what I mean? And you have Florida, where everything's hot and damp, and there's bugs everywhere. And then you have like California, there's deserts, you know what I mean? The hottest temperature deserts, And it's like, if you want that, you can go get it. It's completely up to you. And that's like one of the most empowering things. Did this idyllic view of the United States, was this like a thing throughout your life? Have you ever like thought inwardly, like, man, like I can be what I want?
I've always loved the country, with all its blemishes. It's still an amazing country with amazing opportunities. That hasn't changed. And I think as I've gotten older, I've come to, accept more responsibility for how my life has turned out.
Yeah.
One of the principles of my life that was like a guiding principle, I always wanted to understand what I call the universal dynamics. How does everything work? Why does it work the way it does? And so I never stopped asking questions about that, and I got some amazing answers. So the universe will give you the answers you need to lead a successful life if you're open to it, and if you don't prejudge it.
Right. I mean, that's like, we're talking about like the polarization that we have in the world, and I think one of what makes me special and like what makes me different from other people is that I like to talk, I like to do this, but I also keep an open mind. Someone's always got something to give. There's always something you can gain from any experience. And I know you personally, like, talking about these universal principles. Is that what you're saying? Universal? Yeah. I mean, you ask, I remember being 9 and asking you, like, what the answer to life is, just because why not ask your grandfather that, like, and you just simply, like, you thought about it, you always think about it, and you're like, I've lived this life, I gotta say love is the answer. And I was like, damn, like, that's pretty cool, like, I can believe that, like, that made sense to me. it kind of clicked. That, you know, I it's made such a big impact on me and like the decisions I make, because you know the answer to it all seems to be love and like the connection between people, and I think that's what guides me to, you know, I gravitate towards, you know, history and English because it seems so human rather than mathematics with the numbers and the formulas that you got to plug in and then do the math, because it seems not human and disconnected from that human interaction that I value so deeply, and it's like such a core value. I know it's like one of Eckhart values, right, where everyone is a part of God, right? Like that's
Right.
and like that is like, I treat people, I mean, that's a great way to explain it and a great way to guide other people. And the way I fundamentally treat people how I want to be treated. That is how I operate. That's how I face any situation. And that means that you can separate yourself and you can separate them and like extrapolate. You can just be your, how do I want to phrase this? I'm trying to make an analogy for this. Rather than being so up close to the situation, being so like right here, if you just be like, how are they acting? Like, let me put myself in their shoes. You can kind of like take you away from this like this wall and like look around and be like, oh, there's this side. Like, oh, you know, and like that's something I can preach this and I could be like, yeah, this is something I figured out. It's like, no. I'm 17. I'm aware that this is an ongoing process. I'm working on this. I can get so heated in an argument and talk to someone, and I will lose all my patience, and I will lose all that you know, all this when I'm preaching about you know, I'll be right here in this situation. But if with any interaction, I take it slow. How are they reacting? In what ways? Like, how would I like that if they did this to me or I did this to them? And it's kind of under that fundamental belief, like, everyone is a part of it. Everyone is a part of God. You know, everyone is part of the whole experience. And,
Right.
you know,
Well, see, it's nice to understand the principles, but what's more important is to practice the principles. And if they don't
Right.
work, if they're not working for you, you don't really believe it. It has to be an experiential thing, because that's what life is. It's all experience. And does this work, or does it not work? Does it build, or does it subtract? Does it add, or does it take away? If you judge whatever it is, actions, events, whatever, what can we gain from this?
There's a buzzword going around nowadays, like growth. That's what, and I feel like all this embodies the word growth. This is what everyone talks about, you know? And that's like one of the easiest ways to like remind yourself, like, Julia and Mitch have been together for 4 years because they both want to grow, and they feel like together they're doing that the best way they can. And it's frustrating when you look around, and you know, this is something that I want people around me, and the people that I care about, I want them to grow. I want them to do the things that they want to do. I feel like I've been like bogged down by whatever, you know, external, internal factors that have scared me from doing the things I want to do. But once I realized like that I just gotta do the things I want to do, and then I can move on, and also I can be like, oh, and I'm growing as well. You know, it's like all these little things you can start grabbing and pulling in, like, oh, this confidence. Oh, like this is an experience that used to be, you know, this was a bad experience from my past, and now it's made me into this. It's like all these things that we keep talking about. Like now you're like ringing it in. It's like, look at this person that I am right now. Look at all these things that I'm applying all this knowledge to then move on and like, you know, be what I want. And it's weird because I look around to my peers, and granted, like, it's all high school students, and the older I get, you know, hopefully my horizons will be bigger, the people that I compare myself to. But I look around, and it seems as though a lot of people don't think this way. A lot of people are still caught up with themselves, it seems, and like their own, like, oh, I shouldn't wear this shirt. You know, like someone's like, you know, it seems like very like one-dimensional things that they're worried about. And it's like, it seems kind of like, oh, am I the one who's being weird? Like, am I the one who is like, I feel like sometimes these feelings aren't warranted because my peers aren't like, it doesn't seem like there's anybody else I can like compare myself to and like look at, you know, like, or, you know, it's not just about the word compare and like how am I better or worse, like to look at and be like, oh, you know, I'm on the right track. Like, this is like, this person is successful, I think, in my head. Am I the same way, you know? And there's no real person I can lean on and look to like that. And one of the reasons why I'm talking to you right now is like, you're someone I would lean on, you know what I mean? I like, it just seems kind of scary, and seems weird. Like, I feel like I don't deserve these thoughts. I feel like they're so valuable, and like this idea of like mentality, you gotta have the right mentality, and like self-fulfilling prophecies and growing and, you know, all these things. I feel like I don't deserve it. Like, what have I done to really like warrant this knowledge?
Well, if you didn't deserve it, it wouldn't happen. That's the way.
Good point.
But
Good point.
you can't always know, you know, why you get the gifts you get. But
No.
it's good to accept them because
Yeah, I mean,
you can build with them.
right. And I'm talking right now, and like a part of like I'm trying to grow or like trying to figure out is I talk about all these feelings, and a lot of times I feel like conceited and like self-righteous and like too arrogant a lot of times, because it seems like, oh, like, look at me, I know all the knowledge. But it's like, I feel like it would be foolish not to like acknowledge the fact that I feel like I'm different, you know, and I feel like it'd be foolish to not accept that and also like talk about it, you know. I feel like I'm doing stuff, you know, I'm doing what I want to do right now, and I feel like I'm carrying on with, you know, you're saying life is creative, like this is my creative endeavor. It might change. It might change. I might hate it. You know what I mean? After I do it enough times, and it might be something I truly never wanted to do in the first place. But the good thing is, from there, like, now I know, oh, I didn't want to do that. Now I can go on with the next thing that I want to do. And that is like what is truly exciting. But like, oh yeah, there you go. I was about to say, like, the lighting is getting dark.
Yeah, it's getting dark early now.
Yeah. But you're saying it's nice. It's like it feeds my like confidence, like that these thoughts are warranted. And you know, right now I'm working on like personally, like I gotta stick to the things that I say I'm gonna do. So I gotta stick to this podcast thing. I gotta stick to that because I say I'm gonna do it. You know, this is what I'm gonna do now. And I've got to be excited by it. Like, if I'm not excited, and if the idea of doing another one just doesn't, like, just agonizing, then maybe I shouldn't do it in the first place. Like, maybe then forcing something that's not good will continue to make me unhappy, and then that goes against the whole premise of I'm just trying to be happy.
Yeah, happiness is shouldn't be a goal by itself. Just do what you love, and and the happiness is automatic. You know
A
what I
lot
mean?
of well, I mean, I'm picking up what you're saying, but a lot of times, like for me, like when I encounter a decision to be made,
But
I
excuse
check in
me,
with.
Jonah, excuse me. I'm going to need to use the bathroom, so
He's back.
I'm back.
Man of the hour.
That was necessary.
Yes. Well, we don't want you peeing your pants.
No, that would not be
Yeah.
something we want to record.
Yeah, exactly. And I changed my shirt too, so
Oh,
yeah, there we go. A nice purple shirt now. Anyways, so I was just checking everything, making sure everything was recording. So it was a nice break, anyways. And but we just left off where you're saying like this idea of happiness. You know, happiness itself shouldn't be what drives me, but like doing what you love. And the reason why I keep bringing up the happiness is like right now it's a very like active thing. Like right now I'm trying to like get into the habit of doing it, and I feel like by enough times I like remind myself like this is what I want, like this is good, like this is what I like, then that like very active part of saying happiness will kind of fade away, and it'll form into, you know, this is what I love. This is, you know, it's formed. I feel like
you
know,
notice
we're
we're back with love.
yeah,
Do what you love.
right.
Happiness just flows.
Oh wow. Hold on. This idea of do what like love, it doesn't just mean like personal relationship love.
No.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I just told you I was 9 when that has been the same way. Love is the answer for
Uh-huh.
8 years.
Right.
This is recorded now. I have just a brain epiphany. Oh my god! Wait, it's just
You had a moment when it just went.
yeah.
Yeah.
What that is so much more like elegant now.
Yeah.
Do what you like. Love. What? Man, it makes more sense.
And there's something that even transcends that. And that is be love. And
Be love.
yeah, be love.
I'm trying to give me a moment to digest this. I feel like I'm trying to look at it more analytically than it is, but I think be love, like
Yeah.
if you do what you love and if you love people, wouldn't you then like be
Well, then
it?
you're being love. You become the thing that you value. And
Right. That's what this is like. Right. I mean, that is what's scary to me, is if I don't pursue the things that I value, like don't do the things that I love, because then it feels like a life wasted. Have you felt like you've done the things that you love? Like,
there are things I wish I had done that I haven't done.
really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like another part of like my life is I am scared about regretting stuff.
Oh,
Like I am scared about, and that's like I'm so scared that I will regret something that I like am actively like every moment I'm like, oh, I should do this so I won't regret this, and, you know, like, oh, I should do this now because then I'll regret it then. How have you like throughout your life been able to handle that?
well, you mentioned growth. Sometimes you have to grow into something before you're able to do it. And if you work with positive affirmations of the things that bring you, in other words, happiness will be what indicate that you're being successful in your life. if you're in harmony with everything, then the happiness is automatic.
Right.
It's only when you reject stuff, you say no, you know, uh, and don't allow it to come into your life. That you'll be temporarily unhappy.
So temporary though.
Yeah, it's temporary because being alive is a miracle.
Yeah. I mean,
Being conscious is a miracle. And the more conscious you are, the better. And there are times.
Bingo. I love that. I love it. I mean, Mo always says, like, beats the alternative, Like, I like being who I am, you know what I mean? I'm quite fond of who I am. And I think that it would be foolish to lead a life that you don't seek that consciousness. This is why I love psychology and thinking about myself, and I always pick up on social interactions between people. It's it stems from this root value of personal interaction, and it's man, it makes sense to me. I mean, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I am who I am because I value the things that I value, and I've made the seemingly right decisions when I had to. And I mean, it's just scary because I've been unhappy. I have been sad and depressed. I've been there, and who's to say that it's not going to happen again? I'm only 17, you know what I mean? I'm just it seems foolish to think that my this newfound confidence and happiness and driven focus will continue indefinitely. But what I know is that right now this is what I like doing. Right now this is making me feel good, and that if whatever happens, I'll just know that this was a good thing right now for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And if I continue, it seems there's no way for me to fall too hard if I remember those values. It seems such core, lifelong values of having the right mentality to move on, and picking yourself up, and looking at your failures as things that build you and make you grow. I mean, man, it seems how can you be stopped if you have that mentality? What are some major influences when you look back, things, experiences, people that have shaped you into the man you are today? I know it's a loaded question,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, some things that just pop into your mind right away, something, anything.
Well, it's funny. Growing up, I was the butt of a lot of anti-Semitism. And what was interesting for me was that when Christmas time came, there'd be stories of Jesus, and I would feel a connection to this person and the teachings of this person. And I used to wonder about that. I said, well, how come how come I'm attracted to this? If I paid a price for because of not him, but of people not understanding what he was trying to teach and misusing it, you know. So I never became a Christian, but I was attracted to the teaching of Christianity,
Yeah.
principles.
Yeah, I can pick up on that too.
Yeah. So, in fact, that's kind of what got me involved with Eckankar, was that I was looking for a teacher, and I was feeling some regret that, oh, gee, he lived 2,000 years ago, but I'm living now. I need a teacher now.
Right.
So that was kind of what drove my interest in that.
And so how has Eckankar, like, were you like a priest at one point or a pastor or something?
Yeah.
Like, when how old were you when you found out about Eckankar
Well, I was,
or pursued it?
yeah, I guess I was around 40.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So 40, and did you find out about it and like pursue it right away? How did that like happen?
Well, I don't know how I can explain this. It seemed at one point that I was being almost guided towards a higher teaching, not the Christianity of the church, but what was behind the Christianity, the true teaching. And
Yeah.
and so I remember I was attracted to certain things, books or whatever, principles, and I started working with those, and it led me almost directly to Eckankar.
Really?
Yeah. For example, I was in, well, it was the old Adams drugstore, which became Brooks, which became CVS, you know. But they carried a lot of odd little pocketbooks. And there was one, I was in the store one day, not looking for a book, but I was attracted to a book that was on the shelf, and it was called There Is a River. And once I started reading about it, I couldn't put the book down. And so it was like, that excited me, that book. We're talking about being excited.
Right.
And the river they were talking about, the name of the title, There Is a River, it comes from the Bible. There is a river of God that flows through the universe, to which everyone is connected. So you see, we're back to this connection business. And one thing led to another, which led to another, which it was a whole sequence of events. But it all, I actually, what I did was I kept a file on this, and I labeled the file. It was a file drawer of steps along the way. I knew I was on kind of a path of enlightenment, and I could see how it was working in my life.
You say files, do you mean you would like write in a journal or something?
Well,
or you would keep the book in a...
No, it wasn't just the book, but there were other experiences I had. This is a whole other, topic for another time maybe, but I could see the connection between everything. Eventually, everything connected, and I found it kind of exciting. I began to understand why there was such suffering and pain in the world, and what was behind it. It wasn't just random. There was a plan behind it. And the plan is that you learn, unfortunately, you learn through your pain, through karma, the mistakes that you've made in life spiritually. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I'm picking up. I'm following you.
Yeah. That there are reasons we have the experiences we have in life. And I learned that this idea of karma, which is neither good nor bad, it just is.
Right.
It's the engine that drives all our experience here in life. But we don't see it right away. It's something that opens up, it unfolds.
You said you see it. Is there a point where you physically see it, or you can mentally put a finger on it?
Well,
You can
I don't know. Well, it isn't. For example, I used to wonder why I suffered as a kid because of all this anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, through karma, I understood that the reason that I did that was that because I had created this, and I had to understand it, to move beyond it. And what I found out was that I would complain about all the cruelty in life, and yet I discovered that I was a slaveholder in the South in a past life. That I had inflicted pain because of this. I wasn't a bad person in that life, but I was a slaveholder. And I understood now why I went through what I did. So I would learn compassion, become a compassionate person because of my own suffering. Do you see how that works?
Yeah. I mean,
so it isn't, in other words, it's not punishment. It's a spiritual education.
I like that. Spiritual education.
Right.
That's a good way to look at it.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't being punished. I was being educated. So, seek and you shall find. I was finding. I was finding answers.
I mean, right off the bat, what has to happen for you to realize your past lives? You have to just be completely open.
Well, you have to. It all depends on what you're seeking. I'm not necessarily. I don't want to influence you in the way that you would pursue it on your own, unless that's something that you wanted to do. Because.
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, definitely begs the question.
It was something that I was kind of ready for. I didn't know I was ready for it, but I wasn't satisfied with a lot of the answers I was hearing about why there's such cruelty in life, why is there such suffering, why do people go through the experiences. I mean, I was aware that I had a very charmed life, a very privileged life, but I also went through a lot of pain, and it made me wonder about this in a broader sense. Why do people go through what they go through? Why do some people get born into perfect bodies? Other people have disabilities. They're born into disabled bodies. Why does life seem so unfair?
Right.
So when I discovered the law of karma, whatever you sow, you reap. Whatever you create is yours. And so in order for you to get through that, you have to balance it out. You have to, if cruelty is inflicted on you, you don't inflict cruelty on someone else, you inflict love on them.
Yeah, you gotta balance it out. Isn't that karma? Like you gotta.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not karma. Karma is like you get what you receive, but like.
Right.
It's a way of neutralizing it, you know.
Right.
I mean, once you realize this, like, don't you look at people differently and.
You look at everything differently.
Right.
It's transformational. You don't have any of the same ideas that you had before.
Right. I mean,
it's not for everybody because there are going to be changes, and changes are not always easy.
Right. I mean, this is what I'm kind of like right now at this point in my life. Like, I look around and I feel like I look at people differently and like pick up on different things about interactions. And it kind of seems like I was mentioning it before, like it seems kind of lonely. Is that why you like resonated with the Eckankar? There's a group of people that thought this way.
Yes.
Wow, I mean, that seems like the dream, you know, to have people that you can turn around and be like, you know, these are, hang on, Alexa, stop! You could be like, these are like my, I don't know, soulmates? I don't know, like, you know, it's like, it seems more than brothers. These are like, these are my people, this is my tribe, you know, like, that's what I feel like I don't have right now. And that's one of the reasons why the whole school process, looking at, you know, future school, because I want to find my tribe, my people that I can resonate with, you know. And I just don't confidently feel like I can find that in the school setting. I feel like I have to find it in a different setting. But
you're going in the right direction because you're finding a lot of excitement and happiness, and that's one of the ways you can tell.
Yeah, it's pretty promising. Like, you know,
yeah,
it's a promising thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just definitely, man. So how many people at Eckankar, the Eckankarian Church of whatever, like what was the official title?
Well, I'm not with Eckankar now. I went as far as I could go with that group, and I had to leave. Eckankar served a purpose for me and a good part of my life, and I got a great deal from it. But I needed to move on from it.
Right, it was the right time.
Yeah, I needed to move on. So you take the gifts that are given, and they're valuable and they're true, but you move on.
I mean, it's just like these experiences they must have changed you who you are now, you know? You are so greatly impacted from it. And it's just like you have so much life that you've lived to look back on, and you've made so many decisions, you know? It's just like, would you expect to be in the position that you are today?
I had no idea where it wind up.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I didn't know that I would, you know, it's a miracle that I made it this far.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 life-threatening illnesses.
Really?
And yeah.
You had the
well, I had
heart thing, right?
I had prostate cancer. And
I was around for this, right?
yeah, yeah, but you were very young.
Yeah.
You were a baby. Um, and then I overcame that. I was treated for that, and then
Mm-hmm.
I had open heart surgery.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are two potentially life-threatening illnesses.
Mm.
So it's really amazing that I've made it this far.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Well,
just,
your grandmother is a remarkable person, as you know.
yeah. It's been there. How long have you guys been together? 50s? How many? No, more than that.
Yeah, was it 61, 50, 58 years.
Wow. Wow. And
So
you guys have been so. She doesn't share any like. She
what's
doesn't.
that?
She doesn't share like the Eckankar. She wasn't involved with that, right?
No, she was, and she wasn't. She was against my being in it.
Really?
Well, it became. See, the trouble with some of this stuff is it becomes obsessive if you let it,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be careful of that.
Right.
So
Right.
you go out of balance that way. Um, it's better to live your life using the principles, but not. The thing became like too big in my life.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
was Bubby picking up on that?
Yeah, she was concerned about that.
Mm. I
And
mean, yeah, go on.
and then and there was some problems with Eckankar too.
As an organization.
Yeah. Also, some of the people involved in it were a little out of balance. So that's why I don't steer anybody that way. I mean, that's.
Right.
I mean, it was. I had some remarkable experiences, but like typically of the experiences I had, I was I used to go to the seminars, and went to one seminar. Usually they were all over the country,
Right.
and I sat down next to a stranger, you know, at the seminar.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to sit down there, and this woman was telling me that she was thinking of leaving a relationship she had with someone special in her life, and she asked me what I thought about this situation, which is, unusual. And she said, I'm not supposed to leave the situation until I meet the royal eagle.
The Royal Eagle?
The royal eagle. Do you know what Adler means in German?
Doesn't it mean eagle?
Yes.
Doesn't mean royal eagle, but it means eagle, right?
Right.
So was she insinuating something?
The
royalty?
royal meaning that as a spiritual being, we're all royal spiritually.
Because we're all God.
Right. That's where the royal part comes. So, based on that meeting, she broke up with her boyfriend or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because it was such a obvious setup. She found out my name and she knew what it meant, what Adler meant. But those are the kinds of experiences I had. They were like connections.
Right. It's just like history. Like you can draw the line to everything connects to everything.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just It makes sense. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Um,
So, well, anyways, I didn't want to get on. I didn't want to
Right.
get on because that's such a big subject by itself.
Right. I mean, I'd love to talk more over not Zoom, but
Yeah.
I mean, we should wrap up soon. But
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I have like a burning question, and I feel uncomfortable asking, but I should just ask.
Go ahead.
Is well, my being so young, kind of, I'm kind of constantly aware of like my youth and like my how much time I have left. You know what I'm trying to say? Maybe you know where I'm going. Like everywhere I look, I'm like, oh, my future is ahead of me. But you're at the other end of it. How like and I do you think about like your own mortality and
Oh,
like,
sure.
like how does that how do you handle that, and also how has it changed over time really?
Well, no one lives forever physically.
Right.
You know, the minute you start taking your first breath,
You're eligible for death.
right?
Right then. Yeah.
Well,
It's a funny
I
ways to
can,
put it.
even though I know that that's not the end of everything, it's certainly the end of this personality, Ed Adler. Except, you know, in memory. So I'm able to balance that off by understanding. In other words, I'm not terrified of dying,
Right.
but I am feeling I don't want to leave. I don't want to
Yeah.
leave. I don't want to leave. You know, my family.
Right.
You know, you and the other kids and
Right.
and my wife. And I'm concerned about what will happen to her when I go. So I am feeling those concerns. So, and I'm also aware that my physical body is not the same as it was. I can't do the things physically that I used to do. So I find it troubling at times.
Right. It's like, how do you? I feel like people don't talk about it enough. Like, you have to. It seems so. It seems like it would be so frustrating, you know, not being able to maybe walk as fast as you used to, you know, be able to jump as high, be able to think as quickly, and you know, it's all these things.
Well,
I think you're pretty sharp right now, but like, you know what I'm trying to say, like there's like wouldn't it be? It seems like looking from the outside in, like I feel like it would be a difficult time. And how do you rationalize it?
Well, it is a difficult time. It's a challenging time for me.
More challenging than any other time you can remember?
Well, it's like you're looking at life. Excuse me.
You're excused.
You're looking at life like it's just beginning. It's opening up. I'm looking like it's closing down. So
yeah,
it's there aren't too many people around my age.
Right.
So, yeah. No, we're finishing up. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental difference between like you and I is life is opening, life is ahead, and it seems like how would that like that mentality? I don't like understand when does that mentality, rather than outward like this, is it like closing in? Like was there a point in life where it shifted? Maybe not a point exactly, but like, you know, an area where you can recognize like, oh yeah, this is when it shifted.
Well, I think the two illnesses I had shook me up pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I realized I could have died either time,
Yeah.
and
And it made it more real.
sure. Um, I mean, I think, you always think you're going to live forever, which you do in a spiritual sense, but not in a physical sense. And it's hard to separate the two. So, yeah, it's a concern.
Yeah.
It's a concern.
Right.
But
I mean,
again, I what I do with that is I every day is a blessing.
right.
Every day is a miracle, and I count my blessings. I have a lot of wonderful people in my life,
Right.
and I've gained a certain perspective on life, which I know to be true. But that's always, it's always shifting. There's always another added dimension to it.
Mm. Yeah, and you only get that from being around.
Yeah.
And seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an exciting part of life to me. Like that's what,
Yeah.
That's.
Well, that's why I'm delighted that you're doing what you're doing now, because I think that's you're out discovering, and that's
Right.
And you can feel an excitement about it and a growth.
And I'm aware of it too. I'm aware of that excitement. Like
Yeah.
I'm aware of like what it means, and
Yeah.
you take a hold. Take care of it.
So, yeah. Well, we could go on forever, but I think we need to stop.
Yeah.
Getting tired.
Right. Well, thank you so much for doing this and talking and being open.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, it's only the fourth, but I can learn so many things from each time I do it to move forward.
Yeah.
Man, we talked about some good ass stuff. Excuse my language, but we talked about some good things.
Good.
Yeah, like I said, it's exciting. Like this will always be. I will have this now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, my kids can be like, oh, what was your grandfather like? And it's like, here you go. Like here's him. And it's just like that. Really is like such a cool thing to me. Anyways, I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk later.
Okay, I love you.
I love you. Bye. Say bye to Bubby too.
I will.
Yeah, I love you. See ya.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.